Good morning. You're listening to the BLAINESWORLD Show, a special Facebook Live edition heard here on WPVM FM 103.7 in Asheville, North Carolina. We're ordinarily on the air on Wednesdays on radio at 9 a.m., but today we're here for the special Facebook Live edition with two actors from Western North Carolina talking about an upcoming show. And to get right into it, I should welcome everybody. I'm Blaine Greenfield. This is my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. I'm speaking with Scott Rodd, is it? I think, right? And Rodd and Max Morter. And you guys are in the lovely downtown studio in Waynesville, North Carolina at the Hart Theater. Is that correct?
Very same. The lobby studio.
The lobby studio. Okay, great. And why don't you, by the way, why don't you wave to all your fans and friends in Facebook world? So if they're watching, you're seeing these two guys. And I'm really excited to have them because they're going to be talking about an upcoming show at Hart. And the show is a real fun show called ALL SHOOK UP. And that's going to be starting, when is that opening, guys?
May 13th.
May 13th. And it's going to run until when?
Running through June 5th, weekend. So we have, I believe it's a Friday and Saturday night show and then a Sunday matinee.
Okay, yeah, and it's at Hart Theater. And for the benefit of the folks who don't know the show, why don't I have you, either one who wants to take it from top, what's the show about?
Yeah, sure. So the show is a jukebox musical featuring the songs of Elvis Presley, with some loose adaptations of various Shakespeare plays. Roughly, it follows this this town full of very depressed, very lonely people. And then this guitar playing roustabout, my good friend Max here, comes in and everyone starts falling in love left and right, and lots of chaos and fun ensues. It's a great time.
Now, had either of you guys been Elvis fans beforehand?
Honestly, I've sung some of his music. I think his music is really fun to sing. I'm a guitarist, so it's really fun to play on the guitar. But in terms of like growing up, no, it's been a thing that I've gone into as an adult.
It's been a more recent thing. For some of my family members, some of his songs have been really important, so a lot of them have been in kind of my atmosphere or headspace. Like Can't Help Falling in Love was very important for a lot of
Well, of course, a lot of people did that song, as well, aside from Elvis. But the real fun is that for the people who don't know Elvis's stuff, and I guess a lot of your actors as well aren't real familiar with it, this is a great way to become Elvis fans.
Absolutely.
Talk a little bit about the fact. So I think you were telling me off the air that both of you are students at WCU, Western Carolina University. And let me ask you, I guess, since Sam just displayed it with that great looking shirt there, when did you get into acting, Sam?
I got into acting when I was 5 years old, I believe. Yeah, no, I was 5. It was a local children's theater in my hometown. I'm originally from New York, from just a little outside the city. And my parents were both big theater people, and they both kind of encouraged me to try it out. And I kind of instantly fell in love with it and just kept doing it throughout the years and found my passion pretty early, which was real nice.
I'm from New York originally. Where outside New York?
I'm from originally Pelham, New York, in Westchester.
Okay. I know it. So the question, I'll put you on the spot. Do you remember the name of the play?
It was an original play. It was called Pirate Joe. Was the name of the show. I played.
Do you remember your part?
I was Wild Willie, I think. I wore an eye patch, and I think my one line was "Methinks the captain stinks."
Okay. I ask you that for a reason, and you're laughing, Max. But I have this great idea I've shared with Candace. She hasn't taken me up on it at Hart, but I want to do a fundraiser where everybody does their very first role. So when you were the pirate, Sam, I assume you don't have a videotape of that somewhere?
I don't even know if a script or video exists anymore. Actually, I believe that video does exist, but the person who took the video just kind of disappeared off the face of the planet.
But wouldn't that be such a cool fundraiser that, so you can recreate your first role, the one line, I can't believe you remember it, but everybody would be doing their very first show. It'd be like a fundraiser for Hart, or I just think that'd be a lot of fun. And so I'm impressed you remember the role, you remember the one line. Same question, Max. Do you remember your first role?
I also started in children's theater. I was in 4th grade, and my mom had encouraged me to do it because my friends had all been to this summer theater camp the year before, children's educational theater. I'm from Salem, Oregon. This is like our big educational theater, children's theater company that we have there, and it's relatively small, but it's a lovely community organization. Yeah. And So in third grade, a bunch of my friends had done it, and I was too afraid. I wasn't ready to do theater. And then fourth grade came around, and I was like, well, I'll do it to spend time with them. And now I'm the one person really out of that group who is stuck with it through the rest of my life. My first role was as Papa Bear in a show called 333, which is a combination of the three Goldilocks and Three Bears. The three Billy Goats Gruff, and the three little pigs. And so you got all three stories woven together, and it was kind of like a fairy tale crossover. I don't remember any of my lines, but I can say the one who played Baby Bear under me called me Papa for the following 4 or 5 years.
Oh. And is that your nickname? Do they still call you Papa?
He doesn't, thankfully.
Okay. But same thing too. So I assume, I don't know if you folks or anybody made a tape of that. Did they make a video?
He records things now, but they weren't doing it back then.
Okay, but wouldn't that be great though? Wouldn't you love to see it? You know, so you could.
Pictures. I know we have pictures. You could put some pictures.
There's a picture of me somewhere in my very silly little pirate outfit.
I just thought it'd be great, you know, pass on to future generations that here was your very first role. So take it then from Max, that role. Talk about some of the other stuff. What made you decide to get into theater at that point in time?
I loved being part of CET because it was educational, is in the name, children's educational theater, and I loved that learning aspect that was not only memorizing lines and like playing pretend with your friends, but learning about Shakespeare and learning about sword fighting and all the different things that you have to do to be on stage. And so then going forward, my middle school didn't really have a theater program. My high school had a small theater program, but I knew I wanted to pursue it, so I did a lot of community theater work. And then senior year came around, and I was so afraid about auditioning for big programs, I didn't know where to go. And so I started at Oregon State University, which is in Corvallis, Oregon. It's a great school. And I was doing like a theater, voice double major, and a communication minor, just trying to piece together like how can I keep doing theater without going to BFA. And I had a voice teacher who said, "You've got to come to Western. I'm an alum. It's affordable even out of state." And so I transferred after pulling off the audition and doing okay. And I will say the thing that's kept me going is that I love a couple things. I love entertaining people. I love making people smile and laugh and just like, feel the energy you get from especially a live musical performance. And then also, I love playing pretend. I love it's silly and it's fun and it feels right to do.
Now, by the way, we're losing a little bit on the voice, so maybe stay close to the mic or something. But talk a little bit about, and so you've been at Western Carolina for how long?
We are both rising seniors. Yeah. We'll be seniors next year, so 3 years.
So 3 years now.
Okay, so you'll have one more year at school there. And so the roles you played then, up through this current one, aside from the current one, do you have a favorite role you've ever played?
Oh. Do you have an idea?
I have. What's coming to mind, and this is a recent one, but I got to do 2 Shakespeare productions. This year I got to do Midsummer Night's Dream and Romeo and Juliet, which are, I love doing Shakespeare. I got to be Lysander in Midsummer Night's Dream, and I got to be Mercutio in Romeo and Juliet, which is just 2 of the most freeing roles I've ever gotten to play. Like, something about Shakespeare and shows like that specifically, and Romeo and Juliet getting to die on stage in a very dramatic fashion is so like cool. is so freeing and gives me such an adrenaline rush. Like it's the best kind of playing pretend for me, is getting to go that big. Yes. And to do whatever you want, and you don't have to apologize for it. It's for you to be as large as you can.
As an actor, is it harder to memorize traditional English or Shakespearean English?
Honestly, I find traditional English more difficult sometimes.
People tell me that. How come?
One of my things I've got going for me is I'm very good at memorizing lines.
He's a freak.
It's true. I can do it very fast, but with Shakespeare, there is a consistent rhythm. Frequently, things have to rhyme, or you have to get things in a certain order for them to make sense. Both with like the scansion and the iambic pentameter, or if you're getting the rhyming couplet correct. So the words have to be in a certain order, which makes it easier for me to comprehend. I go, okay, this has to be like that. Whereas with a lot of more traditional speech these days, words can be swapped around in different orders and have the exact same meaning without needing to be in that meaning. But you still need to get the words the way they're written in the script. Like, you can't just be off and say something kind of similar. You still have to get those words down. So it's much easier for me to think that a line is the same idea but not the right words, as opposed to Shakespeare. It's intrinsic. I have to learn these words. These are the words I am going to say.
Let me ask you, I guess, to share something with your many fans and friends here on Facebook. And I should preface it by saying I'm terrible at memorizing lines. I typically, I've been in like maybe 3 plays. I have about 3 or 4 lines. I'll tell you a story some other time about that. But I have trouble anything over 4. Secret, if you would, to your success in memorizing lines. How do you do it?
I wish there was. I think I'm just weird. My method is usually, it's just a lot of repetition. It's just go through, look at the line, say it out loud, look at the line, make sure you got it right, say it out loud again. For bigger speeches, say the first line of a speech, say it out loud again without looking at it, add the second line, keep adding on to it over and over again until, so that way you are both learning each line individually and learning it in the order that it comes with, which makes it much easier for my brain to process.
And if I can add something, he fully like hyper focuses. Like it's all he's doing when he's memorizing. He's like focused.
Well, when you guys do it though, Max, let me ask you: are you reading with somebody else, or do you have a on program on your computer? How do you do it?
Yeah, he and I actually have different methods in terms of that. I love recording my lines orally, so I make a big. I use an app called Offbook on my phone.
Yeah.
It's wonderful, and it lets you record your lines and then play them back with your line like muted or your line with a pause before it. And so it lets me do this process where at first I just listen to scenes on repeat and I hear my lines in order and I hear it all in the natural order. And then next time I'll put the pause in front of my line so I have a chance to test it and then see if I'm word perfect. And then I'll just mute my line entirely once I'm at a phase where I'm just running the scenes. And so it is funny to run it with just a bunch of different versions of me doing funny voices.
That is fun.
Well, let me ask you, I was wondering what you just said. So when you repeat it, hearing it on the app, do you read the other line as well? Where somebody else reads the other line?
I had my little, one time I had I was in a production of the musical Catch Me If You Can, which is a great show. And my little brother has always wanted to be a character in that role. That's the only time I've ever had someone record lines, and it's because he really wanted to do the read. But normally it's just my voice talking in a bunch of different, I'll do like high-pitched voices, low-pitched voices.
Okay. Because I would think that'd be fun to have somebody else read it with you too, and then just practice there as well. So on this play, talk a little bit about how long you've been in rehearsal on it.
You've been in it longer than me because of conflicts.
Right after we closed Romeo and Juliet, we started some like kind of preliminary rehearsals just to get with music. That was the end of February, and then we had a rehearsal or two in the beginning of March. And then we took a longer break while spring break and things like that are happening. And then I want to 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
I think we're in 3 weeks. 3 weeks is 3 weeks ago we started Monday through Thursday. Saturday rehearsals.
There were a fair bit of rehearsal conflicts there are a number of other Western students in the show. Javen Delosier, Kate, I can't remember Kate's
Danny
name.
Velasquez.
Kate Mullis, thank you. Danny Velasquez, who's playing across from me, she's wonderful. All wonderful performers, but who are also, because they're wonderful performers, cast in Addams Family at Western. So they were really busy with rehearsals and performances. We took kind of like a partial break, and then we brought it back, and now we're really stitching everything together.
Because why I asked that question is that folks don't realize how much goes into a show, why I so encourage people to come out to Hard and to come out to Western, because they think they'll see a show, but you've been on it for anywhere from 3 weeks to 6 weeks to longer. And it's a major time commitment to put on a show.
Yeah. And it shows the final product. I think especially both Hard and Western are companies that master like little details. You can look at any person on stage and they will be in their own moment sharing something unique. I think it's really cool.
And I guess you guys are both lucky to be at Western, because in terms of theater programs, that's as outstanding a theater program as I've ever seen. Just talk a little bit about it, even in terms of the comparison. Hart's a beautiful theater, but Western Carolina, you have some beautiful theater there. It's just incredible, that facility.
I think the biggest difference that I've noticed so far is like, I think it's fair to comment on Hart's community of performers and technicians and directors and stage managers, everyone else. I think that's the biggest difference so far, is that when you're not in a program that is institutional like Western is, when you're working with a company that gathers people, like Hart gathers people, is a grassroots energy. I don't have a better term for it.
Absolutely. I love rehearsal. But and especially at Western, and this is not a good or bad thing, but there is this sense of like, this is what you were here to do. This is part of our education. Rehearsals are long. We do a lot. There's a lot expected of you, and not that there's not a lot expected of you here, but there's a much more like jovial energy.
Yeah, jovial is great. Yeah.
and I don't want to say casual, but there's a sense of we're having fun here. We're doing this because it's fun, and we want to put up a show. We want to entertain people and make people smile and just give them a good time, and we're gonna have a good time as well.
Yeah, but it's not our first. We've done it with heart, and we found that last time too. We both were involved in a production that Micah Pat, a Western graduate, directed here of 13 Clocks, which is a really fun comedic play. And we noticed it then too. That it was just this is there's no pressure to be developing professionally, which is awesome, and it pushes us as artists.
Exactly. I had a pretty small little weird role in that, but because the atmosphere was so freeing and relaxing, I got to just do something weird with it and turn it into something very memorable, I think, both for me and as part of the show, which was a blast.
Wait, mention, so I just missed it. What was the name of the play you were at Heart in?
Clocks. I was the assistant stage manager, and Sam, you played both roles, right?
I believe the captain of the guard was the name of my role.
Wait, I'm sorry, what show was it?
13 Clocks.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's a fun show, completely. But one of the things also that I find when I see something at Heart is I actually love that Heart does, because it's, like you said, it's almost kind of fun, and I sometimes prefer Heart and Western Carolina to professional theater, because the people, the energy sometimes is actually better, or it's just really fun to watch it. And sometimes when I see a professional show, it's good, but it's kind of going through the motions. Where I see somebody at Heart, I don't see that happening.
If I can offer a personal input on that from back home in Oregon, I remember when I first went to see Pirates of Penzance, a touring production. It came to the Keller, which is a beautiful auditorium in Portland. It was stunning vocally. Everyone's costumes looked amazing, but like you say, it was missing a certain energy. And then I saw a production of Pirates that was at a children's theater in Portland, and the kids had the energy that Heart's it pulls you in. It's wonderful.
Well, I don't know. So Sam mentioned that he had been in one Heart production. Had either of you been in other Heart productions?
I believe this is both of our first productions here on the main stage.
Oh, okay. Because Heart, like I said, they have an amazing children's theater. And they put on such fantastic stuff, and I never thought I'd say that, but I sometimes like you said, the children's theater production is as good, if not better. It's too bad you weren't around. They just did Newsies, and it was brilliant. It was absolutely great. You mentioned also, Max, that so you're an assistant stage manager. Have you ever been, Sam, stage manager or assistant stage manager for a play?
Managed. Throughout middle school and high school, I worked a lot of run crew, though. That was my big technical thing, which is also another part of theater I loved, being backstage. Hey, make sure the set gets on, make sure the set gets off, make sure it happens cleanly, you've got this amount of time. It's a really nice kind of pressure for me.
Because I once read somewhere, not somebody told me, but I read somewhere, that it's a recommendation that every actor should be a stage manager or assistant stage manager at some point in time, because you realize how important that position is. It's kind of crucial to the success. And that kind of leads into another question. If either or both of you could give a shout out to some of the other people we're going to be seeing in this upcoming show, All Shook Up. First of all, talk a little bit about the director, if you would. Who's the director?
We can talk about Dominic.
Is he there?
He's not within earshot, thank goodness.
Okay, but talk about Dominic as a director for the show.
Dominic, I was so surprised to work with him directorially.
Mm-hmm. We both work as his vocal students at Western Carolina.
So we've had a relationship with him for a couple of years. I've seen him perform in Heart. I saw him in as the Pharaoh in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. It was wonderful. And I'd known from personal experiences of friends of mine that he's wonderful to work with in shows. But this is our first time actually doing a show with him. I've been really surprised to see, and this is not a slide on Dominic, but his organization. He's so often just let's focus in on this one little thing. Here's a vocal moment in one of our lessons. But seeing him put together a full blocking chart and come in with all these large-scale directorial ideas, but also a willingness to flex with us.
Yes.
It's been awesome.
It's been really nice. Also, I feel like my time is being respected as well, which is so wonderful. We are not trying to waste any time. We are doing exactly what we need to do.
And credit also to Nicole, our
absolutely.
For
that. And talk a little bit about that, because I was just going to lead into that. The importance of Nicole as the stage manager. Okay, and talk about the importance of the stage manager.
Yeah. Don't mess with your stage manager is one of the I ever learned. I've heard people talk back to a stage manager before, and my whole body freezes up.
Fight or flight.
Yeah.
For sure.
No, a stage manager is incredibly important for keeping everything on track, because like, and Dominic comes in with the plan every single day, but his plans are all over the place in a very good way,
Yes.
you know. But it's kind of organization that I can't comprehend, but is working for him. But at the same time, someone has to keep that on track. Someone has to be like, hey, here's what time you have to do this. Here's like what you to control other things. Like playing the tracks. Someone has to like.
Yeah.
Nicole's covering playing tracks right now.
Which shows like because I know she's a very experienced stage manager, and it shows in rehearsal that she's running the show almost like she would be if she was actually calling in from the board.
And to mention the names, just to so other people know them, we're talking about Nicole, and last name is Sumter, right? Is the stage manager for this, and Dominic, his last name is Aquilino. And just a shout out to a couple other people. You want to mention anybody else who's going to be in the play that we should look forward to seeing?
I've got to give out a Javen Delosier shout out.
Oh, absolutely.
Just because you mentioned Hart's theater or children's theater wing. He's been working with kids at Hart for years, and it's not his main stage debut. He was wonderful. He was in Joseph? I don't remember. I think he was in Joseph too.
Don't call me.
But it's a big his role of Dean, who is the son who's supposed to be going to military school of this strict mayor who's kind of running over the town, and he wants to free, he wants to love. He's playing the role so well. You get to see him. It's
so
great
funny and so he's such a delight to watch.
It's funny to see him playing a role who he has to learn to dance on stage when he's like, I can't dance. I don't do it.
So good. He's incredible.
But can he dance?
Oh yeah.
Well, let me ask you maybe just a couple of final questions here. So, in terms of doing this production, has this made either of you two wanted to eventually direct the play down the road?
Actually, yes. The big thing was seeing Dominic and knowing that Dominic and I honestly have pretty similar minds for organization and planning things, and going like, Dominic can do it. I can probably do it. So I'm hoping to direct a play actually next fall with one of Western's student organizations, but that's still up in the air, so I can't give you more details.
And Sam, same thing too. Would you ever want to direct?
Possibly. I don't want to leave it open, but with the way my brain and works and what I enjoy, I don't think directing is for me. I have nothing but immense respect for directors. It's just that sense of vision is something that's not quite my style. I prefer things like writing or things behind the scenes if I'm not actively performing in something.
Well, it's funny, that standing joke I have when I ask directors that question, would he prefer directing or acting? And most people say directing, it seems like. But the reality, guys, is they don't have to memorize the part that way. You know, so one time, especially a big part, they get off that way. Future plans. So after we finish with All Shook Up, what else is on your agenda for the future? This summer, or do you have anything lined up yet for the summer, fall?
I'm reaching out to a bunch of things for the summer. We've got this. I'm probably going to stop home for a little bit, see family, maybe do some stuff over there. And then I guess just finish up senior year and I'm looking into some summer theaters and places even further from here.
And you're looking at Atlanta. Were you looking at Atlanta?
I'm looking at Atlanta still
for after
graduation.
Okay. And same thing too, Max. Anything on the agenda?
Next year, to start with next year goals. We're hoping the big project for senior musical theater majors at Western is your thesis, your senior thesis. And the biggest, I don't want to call it ahead of time for you, but it's the biggest thing I'm looking forward to next year is we get to put together.
I am as well. I've been having ideas.
Like an experimental show. You get to combine your favorite musical or pop songs. You get to make a plot. You get to write, which I think we're both excited about that. But for the summer, I have two contracts both up in New York, in Saranac Lake, New York.
I believe you are.
Okay. It's with Pendragon Theater up there. And the first show is the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee.
Okay.
Awesome. Chip is fun. I love that. It's my first chance to be in the show. I've loved that show for a long time. And then the other show is The Woods, which is an original play. I don't often do plays that aren't Shakespeare. I love Shakespeare, but contemporary acting is kind of hit or miss for me. But this play is really good. It's a great satire of the ways that people's ethical prerogatives can get mired in bureaucracy, and it's centered on national parks.
Do you have a dream role you'd like to play?
My big one right now is Edward Bloom in Big Fish, the musical.
Okay, sure.
A generational character. The music in that show is some of Lippa's best, in my opinion.
And Sam?
I think it switches for each medium.
That's true.
But for musicals, I think something like Roger and Rent is something I'd love to do.
Yeah.
But I also love to do like Edmund and King Lear for Shakespeare is something I want to do so badly.
If we're doing Shakespeare 2 minus Hal, I want to play Prince, and that's it.
And to recap, for the benefit of people who may miss the beginning of the show, you two guys are going to be in an upcoming show at Heart. It's name of the show and date and how to get tickets.
Yeah, this show, it's All Shook Up. It's an Elvis jukebox musical. It's going to be a great time. Please come out and see it.
And we're opening on May 13th, running through June 5th. It's weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you can find those tickets at Heart Theater. That's HART-theater, THEATR.
It's spelled theater, spelled right. T-R-A.
Yeah, it's spelled, yeah.
Okay. And, you know, it's mentioned, you just mentioned, Sam, jukebox musical. For folks who don't know what a jukebox musical, it is what?
A jukebox musical is a musical with an original story written around the songs of a previously established artist. In the case of our show, it is the hits of Elvis Presley from all across his career. Really,
really full scale.
Really full scale. Comparing stuff like If I Can Dream to That's All Right. It's like radically different styles, but it's all awesome. All the music's great. Ensemble sounds great. It's going to be a great time.
And I'd like to thank you both for being my guests on the special Facebook Live edition of the Blaine's World Show. And look forward to seeing you then in a couple of weeks. I'll come up and see you after the show, hopefully. Thanks, guys. So I'm going to sign off.